This is the part that really stretches us. This is what stretches us as an individual and as an entrepreneur. And one of my mentors once said that entrepreneurship is one of the greatest spiritual journeys that anyone could ever go on, right? And what makes a spiritual journey a spiritual journey? It's the growth. It's the challenge. It's the pushing up against your own edges. It is the like quite literally needing to step out of your comfort zone, right? And so this is the part that is easier said than done, but it is required in order for this whole cycle to not be a vicious cycle, but one that you can use as an asset.
So I have the most amazing guest coming up here. She is a certified life and business coach dedicated to help you master your energy and mindset so that you can make more money. And who doesn't want to make more money? And have a bigger impact to create the life and the business that you truly, truly are excited about. So I would like to welcome Dani Kenney.
Hello, Kathy. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm really happy that you're here. We're going to have a really fun conversation.
Yeah.
So I want to start, if you don't mind, because my goal is to have the people that are listening and watching really master their mindset. And you said something in I was researching, and there was something that caught my eye.
Yeah.
You said that you have identified a gap
Yeah.
on how entrepreneurs are feeling versus what's being created in their business.
Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about that gap, because I'm really curious about that gap.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been in business for the last 8 years, which is a pretty long time to be a full-time business owner, especially in the online space. This
Mm-hmm.
can be such a beautiful space to be in, but also really deeply challenging. And so, this gap that I speak of is something that I noticed really early on in my business, where I consider myself highly driven, a high performer, really ambitious. I am not somebody who's afraid to take big, messy, bold action. I'm not afraid to invest in myself. And so when it came to the doing of business, where a lot of times in the online space and in different types of coaching programs, we hear a lot in books and podcasts and all the places where we're out there receiving information, consuming information, we hear about the importance of consistently showing up and taking action. And that's
Right.
something that a lot of people can struggle with. But Kathy, for me, that wasn't a problem. And so I was very confused early on in my business. And really, it wasn't like the first few weeks or months, it was the first few years I was
Mm,
spinning my wheels, where I was consistently in action and I was investing and I was showing up really powerfully, but I wasn't really getting the results. Like I was literally doing what I called doing all the things, everything I could think of that everyone told me would allow me to be successful. And I had a few clients and I was making a little bit of money, but it wasn't what my family needed in order for me to stay in business. And that's what I wanted more than anything. And so I started doing a little bit of research, and the way that life works, people started coming into my world, specifically other colleagues in the coaching space, but they were coaching more on things connected to mindset and to energy, not just on taking action and strategy. And so I started looking at them and what they were doing, and realized that I could be reading all the books, buying all the courses, taking all the action. But if I didn't make those really important shifts in my mindset and honestly in my energy, in my inner world, and what I call doing the heart work, no amount of strategy and action taking was going to get me to where I needed to go and ultimately wanted to go. And so that was the gap that I identified for myself. And a lot of times when my clients come to me, that's the gap that I can identify within them. And that's where we really focus a lot of our time and our energy during our work together.
I would say that that is a really, really common gap for
Yep.
so many people.
Yeah.
And absolutely, it's not just necessarily months, it could be years,
Yep.
or you're not where you want to be. Maybe
Yep.
you are making some money, but in your heart, you feel that there's much more for you,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what can they do to get past this gap or leapfrog this gap? What's like a
Yeah.
easy step for them to
Yeah.
try?
There's one technique that I'll share. And for those of you who are watching right now, this would be a really beautiful time. If you don't have something to take notes with, grab it really quickly. I promise this is going to be so worth putting pen to paper for the next few minutes. So, when it comes to what I call energy and mindset mastery, I've got a whole toolkit. I've spent the last, when I identified this gap, the first thing I decided to do was let me figure this out for myself so then I can support others along the way. And so I've really spent the last four, let's see, I lost you for a second. Let me see if I can get you back
Oh,
here.
I'm
Um,
here.
Okay, here we are. The
We're
last
here.
4 to 5 years, really invested in learning these tools, mastering these tools for myself, and more importantly for others. And so there's so many different things that we can do, but one really powerful, what I call mindset mastery technique, is to understand the way that we go about achieving our results. And what I'm going to share right now, depending on how far along your personal and professional development journey you are, you may have heard this elsewhere, but the way that I teach it is a little bit different. The way that I see other people teach this, there's one important missing piece. So it's an acronym called T.F.A.R. And T.F.A.R represents it's this cycle. It's a cycle that we are always in. And there's no way to escape this cycle. And so it's like, if we are going to be in this cycle, if we're going to be in this pattern in our life and our business, let's learn how to use it to our benefit. So the T represents our thoughts and beliefs. So everything begins with our thoughts and our beliefs. The F represents our feelings and our emotions. The A represents action, and the R represents results. So, what a lot of people do, especially when they're starting business, and that's the context through which we're speaking today, they're focused on showing up, jumping out of bed, and taking action. And that's what I was doing for so long. And I hadn't paused to really look at, okay, well, what are the thoughts and the beliefs that are informing the way that I feel? Because what's happening in our head and in our heart is then informing our actions. So understanding that is so powerful. I want to pause there, see how this is landing for you, Kathy, and then I'll share the missing piece.
So, absolutely, because I think if it feels like if everything doesn't align, your thoughts, your belief, what you're doing, you're incongruent, you're being inauthentic, and not only do you know it, but also your customers, your potential customers know it. So
Yeah,
absolutely. And
yeah,
for me, in my experience, mindset seems to be, I would say, a good 70%, if not even more, of whether or not someone is successful or not successful.
yeah.
So I actually have not heard of this acronym. Is this yours, or did you come up with this, or is this?
No, I cannot take credit for this. I don't know who came up with this, but it's something that I have put into play many different times. And through different books that I've read and different courses I've taken and live events I've attended, I've seen this be such a foundational piece of understanding the way that we operate and also how we can come in and make little tweaks if we're not getting the results that we desire, and understanding really the root of our results and how it's so much more than just what we're doing, if that makes sense.
And you have to have all of these, right? So it's almost like having
Yeah,
a table, and if you
yeah,
pull out a leg, it's
yeah,
going to fall.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
So where do you think with T.F.A.R, where do you think the people, the entrepreneurs, struggle the most with?
Yeah. So this is where the missing piece comes in.
Okay.
Lots of people in the coaching space, people who do work similar to what I do, they talk about T.F.A.R, but what they're missing is where the cycle starts. So if you could actually, Kathy, you and your people could go Google this, and you will typically, when you Google T.F.A.R, if you go to Google and you select images, you'll see a circle. Like it quite literally is a cycle. So you'll see the T with an arrow to the F to the A to the R, but there is a missing piece there, and it's a C. And the C represents our circumstances.
Mm,
So
absolutely.
this is where most entrepreneurs get stuck. And I even use the term spinning our wheels, because that's what it felt like for me early on in my business. Is I was doing all of these things, but I wasn't really getting anywhere. I wasn't really getting very far, right? And so it really was this cycle that wasn't very supportive. So now when it comes to circumstances, this is where you can allow your current set of circumstances and or your past to dictate the thoughts, beliefs, the feelings,
Mm,
actions, and results. And that's what a lot of people do because they don't know what else to do. But what happens is if we allow where we are right now to run the show, what happens? We don't get very far. We stay exactly where we are, or we move at a snail's pace.
right. It's almost like a vicious circle then,
It
really, more than
is.
anything else, right? You
It
think
is.
about, oh, I wasn't successful before.
Yeah.
It's not going to work or whatever,
Yeah.
or why am I to do this, or all those
Yeah.
interesting questions that sometimes we ask of ourselves. So
Yeah.
I love that. So tell me then, how do people get past that, going from whatever their past circumstances are
Yeah.
to what potentially their future circumstances could be?
You nailed it. So this is the part that really stretches us. This is what stretches us as an individual and as an entrepreneur. And one of my mentors once said that entrepreneurship is one of the greatest spiritual journeys that anyone could ever go on, right? And what makes a spiritual journey a spiritual journey? It's the growth, it's the challenge, it's the pushing up against your own edges. It is the like quite literally needing to step out of your comfort zone, right? And so this is the part that is easier said than done, but it is required in order for this whole cycle to not be a vicious cycle, but one that you can use as an asset. And that is, instead of allowing your past or where you are right now to dictate your thoughts, your beliefs, and then therefore every other part of that cycle, this is where you want to start allowing the future you, the millionaire version of you, heck, the billionaire version of you. This is where we want to spend a little, if not a lot of time every day sitting in what it feels like. What is that vision that we have for ourselves, for our life, for our business, for our goals? Right? Like, and if you're not, I'm not actually of like a visual learner. I'm more of a feeling, I'm more of a hands-on. The visualization piece, which is ironic because a lot of what I do with my clients is leading them through visualizations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I struggle with that. And I just want to speak to anyone else who's like, well, Dani, I can't see it. That's okay. I can't see it for myself either. But what I can do is I can close my eyes and I can feel it. I can feel what it feels like in my body to be a mom of three, rocking in a business, speaking on stages across the United States, having a multiple seven-figure business, having a team there to support me in my business and inside of my life. I can feel what that feels like. And then when you have that vision, or if you're like me and it's more of a feeling for you,
Mm-hmm.
you think, okay, what are the thoughts and beliefs that version of Dani, that version of Kathy has? And I promise you, I just got chills when I said that, there is going to be a very different flavor of thoughts and beliefs when it's rooted in where you're going versus where you've been.
Absolutely. So, do you recommend, because I was just thinking about that, gosh, when you do that exercise, you really should write down everything that you're feeling,
Mhm.
everything that you're seeing. So, when
Yeah,
you have those moments, because there's always going to be those ebbs and flow, right? But when
absolutely.
you have those moments, you can refocus on that. Even if, so in my office, which y'all can't really see, I have these really big, they're like post-it notes, but they're huge, where I write things on, whatever, goals and things I'm working on and clients and all sorts
Yes,
of interesting
yes.
things.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll do like show my office on like what it looks like. But that would be great
Oh
to
my goodness.
write that down and maybe put it right in front
Yep.
of, like, if I'm sitting here, it would be
Uh-huh.
directly in front of me because I think that's brilliant. I really think
Yes,
that's brilliant.
absolutely.
So, would you say the same thing then um, for like, because there has to be a mindset shift for entrepreneurs to generate revenue because and money because
Hmm.
there can be baggage that comes along with that. The things
Absolutely.
that I've heard are, first off, just saying it's too hard to make money. It's whatever. It's too hard. I'll never make that amount. That's for someone else.
Yep.
Also, I've heard things like, well, money's the root of all evil, which we've all heard that saying, right?
Of course. Yeah.
And things such as that, that maybe you heard when since you were like a little kid.
Yeah.
So what do you do about that? Do you use the same similar type of process or
Yes.
what?
Kathy, oh my gosh, you just unlocked the perfect memory here. So, do you know where I learned about T.F.A.R for the first time? It was when I started committing. So, what you're talking about right now is so important as entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
Um, as I started diving, the strategy never went away. The showing up, the taking consistent action never went away. But what really catapulted my results, and not honestly not just in business but in every area of my life, definitely including business, was layering in the mindset work, exactly what we're talking about now, and the energetics. But what came with that was starting to understand and unpack my unique relationship with money. That is such an important piece of the puzzle for so many entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
because
Absolutely.
if you don't have what I would call a healthy relationship with money, it's going to be really hard to make the money, or, you'll make the money and then it'll go out the door as quickly as it came in, and you'll be there wondering what the heck is happening.
Right.
So when I started this journey of understanding the energy and the mindset, I picked up one of my all-time favorite money mindset books, and it's called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv
Harv
Eker.
Eker. Oh my gosh. Love him.
Hey,
Love,
Kathy,
love him.
T.F.A.R is in chapter one. It's in chapter one. I can actually
I don't know how I
picture.
didn't get that then because I've read, but it's been a long time since I've read that book. I've actually
Yes.
gone to multiple seminars of his. And at
Love
one
him.
time in my life, I wanted to be one of his speakers. So that's so interesting that you
Look
brought
at
that
look
up.
at the synchronicities here. All of these
Everything
pieces coming
happens
together.
for a reason, is always what I
Yes.
say. Yes.
That was the first time that I have ever heard of T.F.A.R. So when you brought up money, I kind of smiled and was giggling inside because I'm like, this works the exact same way.
Hmm.
You can apply this to literally anything, anything.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this model then works for all the negative thoughts that, the imposter syndrome, I'm not good enough. Why would anybody want to work with me?
Yeah.
All those type of things. So how often would you say, I mean, not only have it posted up there, but should you do like a refresh? Should you do this exercise once a week, once a month? Maybe when you're making your quarterly goals or your annual goals?
Mm.
Well, I mean, what do you think?
I love that question. And I've never actually thought about it that way. So I will use this when I start to feel myself coming up against like my own inner block, where when I can start to feel myself spinning my wheels again, I start to get a little bit frustrated.
Hmm.
That's my own internal sign to pause and to reevaluate, and then I'll bring this back in. But really, I love how you said, do you do this every week? Do you do this every month? Do you do this quarterly? I mean, I think everybody has a different system when it comes to goal setting, if you will. So I personally have a monthly, quarterly, and annual goal setting system. I have like my weekly planner, and I do things for every day and every week, but I'm not setting like really specific goals for every single day or every single week. What I'm doing every day and every week is leading me to the bigger picture. It's like the bigger picture broken down into smaller pieces. And so I think that yes, this absolutely gets to be a beautiful tool to bring in when you're sitting down to do like your own official, like you're creating the time and the space to be with your goals, to be with your vision, and then bringing this back in and making sure that the thoughts, the beliefs, the feelings, the emotions, the actions, and the results are aligning. And the way that you're talking about it too, having it right in front of you, what I would recommend doing, and you had talked about having those like the big post-its, the like
Right.
life-size
They
post-its.
are. They're huge.
What I've done for myself and for clients is I will literally, like, on one of those big post-its, I will write T.F.A.R. and then write out all of the thoughts and the beliefs that are going to align. And then what are those thoughts and beliefs? How are they going to make me feel? And so I'll literally write out the acronym, what would you say, vertically, and then you can fill in the whole page. And like you said, have it right there so you can come back to that again and again and again every single day.
That's so great because I think it helps with so much clarity, confidence, all of that. I mean, so I hope everyone goes to the link. We're going to provide a link and how to get in touch with Dani as well in the show notes on her page. And I think everyone should reach out. Dani is she's a delight. Like you, for those of you that just might be listening, this lady like always has a giant smile on her face. So she's like a breath of sunshine. So when you said sunshine, I was thinking, oh, that's what you are. So,
Thank you. Thank you for that.
but thank you so much for speaking with me today. I think you provided a lot of really great information on how entrepreneurs can master their mindset. So thanks again, Dani.
Thank you for having me, Kathy.